Hello, my name is Matthias Cavodi. Welcome guys to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the Absolute Carnage crossover. It's 5 issues long, written by Donny Cates. Fantastic art by Ryan Stegman. I got to tell you, like the art in the story gives you this real ominous and dark feel, like a real horror vibe to it in general. And this crossover, it has some problems. One that's normal to crossovers is that it leans heavily on tie-ins, like characters pop up out of nowhere, or stuff happens, or a character has something that that took place within a tie-in. This one also leans heavily into Donny Cates' Venom run, so it's sort of like an extension of that. So if you were not reading his run, stuff that happens here does not make sense at all. So the main premise of the story, it's pretty awesome. I like it a lot. It's really dark. Carnage is trying to connect with the hive mind, the symbiote hive mind. He wants to connect with Null, and to do so, because the Venom symbiote has been cut off, and Carnage symbiote is the child of the Venom symbiote. And to be able to reestablish the connection, what Carnage has to do is find all these codexes or codexes, it's in plural, that they're little marks that the Venom symbiote leaves on each one of its hosts. So the Venom symbiote has been around, and Carnage has been ripping out people's spines or digging up graves and pulling the codexes from there. And once he accumulates enough codexes and gets his hand on the Grendel symbiote, he's going to be able to reestablish the connection with the hive mind, bring Null to Earth. It's way too early. And do whatever the hell Null wants to do. Wipe everything out, kill all life. I don't know what's his thing. It's just, the dude is crazy evil. We're going to get into Null's backstory. He's actually a really cool character. Like, Donny Cates did a kill job introducing this new villain. And that doesn't happen too often, to stick the landing with the introduction of a villain and make him relevant right off the bat. So we have Carnage going to Riker Island. That's one trick that Carnage is going to do quite a bit in the story. He uses shapeshifting. Here we have a smarter Carnage. He's more cunning. He's 100% pure evil. Like, that's the cool thing about Carnage as a character himself. I feel like Carnage and Red Skull, maybe a couple of others, but they're cool as villains because of the fact that they're so far gone, they have no redeeming qualities. And here, Carnage is a real piece of work. So he gets to Riker's Island. He's posing as Eddie Brock. Lee Price, who was the previous owner to the symbiote prior to Brock getting it back before the Donny Cates series, and called himself Maniac, confronts Brock over the whole situation over the symbiote, and he realizes he bit off more than he can chew because it's actually Carnage. Carnage rips out his spine, takes the codex, and starts his reign on terror on the city. And the design to this new alpha level Dark Carnage looks really cool with the Null symbol on it. So here we get a brief history of Null and what's his gist and what drives the character, but we're going to cover that in another video. We have Eddie Brock. He starts off at the beginning of the story without the symbiote. They parted ways prior to this, and then we had the War of Realms story where the symbiote had played a pretty important role. So Carnage tries to kill Eddie Brock just for the fun of it. This draws the symbiote out, the traditional black one, the one that's always been with Eddie Brock, saves his life. And I like that there's a certain level of conflict between Eddie and the symbiote. Like, Donny Cates really worked on this aspect that symbiote has a very distinct identity to it. And even though they have a very strong bond with Eddie, they don't see it the same way. And like on a couple of occasions, this conflict between Eddie, sorry, I'm congested, and the symbiote, it's really well written in the story. So we get this first brief little confrontation between Eddie and the Carnage. And because it's weird because there's two Carnages in the story. You have Cletus Catus City, like the Alpha Carnage, and then we have Norman Osborn, who thinks he's Cletus Catus City, and so he's like normal Carnage. One thing that happens in the story that I have no idea how this is that Eddie Brock goes and searches for Peter Parker. He needs help from Spider-Man. So I'm not sure if he knows Peter Parker's secret identity or what is the deal. But obviously, what happens if we get Spider-Man and Venom team up? Then adding on top of that, we're gonna get a shit ton of heroes teaming up with Venom in the story. Not only Spider-Man, we're gonna have the Maker, the evil Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe, Captain America, Hulk, Wolverine, Thing. Because this is a crossover, and that tends to happen in crossovers. You bring in all the characters that you can. And as I go through the pages, and again, the art is really good. I saw the Let There Be Carnage movie, Venom 2, and I wanted to give the movie a chance because the first one I thought it was just very by the numbers, very, very basic, even though I can't remember the name of the actor and his interpretation of Eddie Brock and the Venom symbiote, the banter between them, that part I loved. But outside of that, the plot sucked in the first one. And in, like, if it's your thing, good for you, Miles. At least for me, it just didn't work for me. And Venom 2, I got in, I started liking the movie, and then there's a moment where Carnage breaks out of prison. He does sort of like a Looney Tunes thing. That just completely pulled me out of the movie. Like, if you see the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But what a pile of crap that flick, man. And I as I was watching the movie, I totally I was thinking like this movie should be a rated R movie. Carnage should be killing people all over the place. That's sort of the thing of the character. So back to Absolute Carnage. Obviously, the battles and the confrontations between Venom and Carnage are pretty good. Carnage again, he's trying to get all the codices, and Venom's trying to save as many characters as possible, especially Norman Osborn's grandson. That's going to be like the main focus of the Spider-Man tie-ins that are really bad. And one really weird thing is that even though I know Norman Osborn thinks he's Cletus Cassidy, he's drawn in such a way. Ryan Stegman's art, it's killer, but he looks like Cletus Cassidy. He doesn't look like Norman Osborn. Like when I read this for the first time, I was like, what the hell? What's the deal? Here's what I was talking about. You have the main traditional Carnage, like the Alpha Carnage, Dark Carnage, and you have another one who's Norman Osborn, so that's sort of weird. Because obviously, this is a reference to the Red Goblin and that story arc that was actually really good. That's why in this story, Carnage is sort of immune to fire, and he's not as vulnerable to sound as symbiotes used to be. That Norman Osborn sort of fixed that. So he like genetically modified the symbiote. So what happens in this story is at one moment, like on a couple of occasions, Eddie has a chance to kill the Venom symbiote or kill Norman Osborn. He decides not to. He wants to go help, in one case, Scorpion from not getting killed. And there, like, he runs in one direction, and the symbiote stays behind. He's like, "Hey, no, you have to kill this guy once and for all." And this happens a couple times in the story. So, at one moment, when they have their chance to take down Carnage once and for all, Eddie wants to go save his kid. Like, he wants to protect him. It's not his priority to fight Carnage at this moment. And the Venom symbiote sort of gets pissed off, and when he does, he just jumps. He abandons Eddie Brock, and he jumps onto Bruce Banner, and we get Venom Hulk. And it's actually really cool. So what happens is Venom Hulk gets totally overpowered by Carnage, gets defeated. Carnage absorbs the Venom symbiote, so we get this Carnage Venom hybrid. And Eddie goes. He's aware that the Maker has the Grendel symbiote. That if you didn't read Donny Cates, you had no idea what the hell he was doing and what he put on. And he becomes Grendel Venom. The look to the Carnage Venom hybrid looks really awesome. And we get the final battle that what actually happens is Norman Osborn Carnage actually gets obliterated by Eddie Brock's kid. He's about to kill him. And Eddie Brock's kid seems to be like this symbiote god or something like that. Like, he just make him explode. We have to get into the backstory of this kid because it's really interesting. This weakens Carnage, and what Eddie Brock does, he actually creates a copy of the Necrosword, like a facsimile. It's not the real Necrosword, but out of the Grendel, he stabs Venom Carnage hybrid Cletus Cassidy. And what happens is Eddie Brock sort of gets played. It's not established, but this is sort of the feeling. Because when he does this, actually what happens is that all three symbiotes fuse together. They abandon Cletus. Cletus is just a skeleton, like he was a zombie the whole time. And this actually closes the circuit because Carnage had absorbed all the codices, fuses together with the Grendel symbiote, and this calls out to Null, and he's able to break free from his imprisonment on Clintar. That Clintar was actually the planet itself is a prison of symbiotes around Null, and this leads to Null coming to Earth. So, again, Eddie Brock sort of got played by the symbiotes themselves, and he is the one that leads to getting Null sent to Earth. And I'm going to leave this video here. This story's pretty good. It's a lot of fun. Again, the tie-in sort of hurt it, but it's worth reading. So, see you guys next time.